What's up, guys? It's Dynasty with the Mountaintops back again. Getting a month away from the draft already, and we got a lot to talk about today, starting into the running backs. But first off, I want to introduce my co-host, Jeremy. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing fantastic, as always. It's always a pleasure sitting down talking football with you. How you doing tonight?
Doing good, man. This every other week. We don't get to talk as much. I don't know about this, but but it's nice to have do every other week because we get a little bit of time off as well with the fam, which is always cool. So
Right.
but a lot to talk about today. We got some updated free agency news. Again, this is from the last 2 weeks because we were off last week. So quite a bit to talk about there. Then we have, like I said before, the rookie running backs of this class. We will talk about that for sure because it's a different class than what last year was. That's definitely true. Picks trade database. If we have time, we're going to do a little bit picks trade database, which is what picks are going for right now, how we can trade in and out to make maneuver where we want to be, what tier we want to be, and who we want to get there. So we'll talk about that down hopefully today. If not, we'll talk about it in 3 weeks there. So and then West wish list. We're gonna finally. I said this 2 weeks ago and I was wrong. So finally, we actually are going to finish the wish list. Even though most of these things have already happened that we were wishing for. So had to be a little bit creative on this one. But first off, like I said before, we're going to start out with the news. Free agency is kind of coming to a close, I feel like. But we're going to break it down by position. So first off, obviously, Kyler Murray's quarterback for Arizona now signs with 1 year deal with the Minnesota Vikings. Daniel Jones, Indianapolis quarterback, re-signs for 2 years, $88 million. Justin Fields, the New York Jets, starting quarterback at the beginning of the season. They got benched, is now traded to Kansas City. So that should be interesting for Fields owners, unless Mahomes is healthy again, and then we don't have to worry about that. And something that just happened very recently, Joe Flacco re-signs with the Cincinnati Bengals for 1 year as well to be Joe Burrow's backup. Hopefully, Joe Burrow's backup, as long as they get an offensive line like we talked about a month ago. So out of those, which one really piqued your interest, I guess? And I'm sure we both have the same one. So
I'm going to have to go with the one that I called, just to toot my own horn. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray going to the Vikings, man. We sit here. I'm curious to see what he does in Minnesota. No lie. He has a little bit. I don't want to say he has better weapons because his weapons that he had in Arizona are arguably, somewhat similar. But you have, increase in Justin Jefferson. You have a decrease in your tight end, but he never really utilized Trey McBride. Honestly, McBride didn't come out of the shell until Kyler wasn't playing. But nevertheless, I like Kyler Murray in Minnesota. Really looking to see the 180 in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison's stats. And seeing what they can do with the mobile quarterback as well.
Yeah, I mean, 2 out of 4 of these are backups, obviously, Fields and Flacco. Murray's definitely the biggest name, but Daniel Jones getting re-signed, even though he did get injured for 2 years, not just another year, is pretty interesting to me. And with them adding Alec Pierce, they obviously had some connection. Better than Pittman, who's now a Steeler. So that one would intrigue me a little bit as well. So, yeah, but obviously I'm a huge Kyler Murray fan. Super excited for this. Aaron Jones is still there, so I think the backfield is semi-secure. They keep trying to knock him, put him to pasture, but he keeps coming back somehow and taking over. So we'll see what happens in the backfield there. But Kyler Murray with, like you said, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, hopefully be able to bounce back, especially for our fantasy teams, considering he's arguably one of the best pure receivers in the NFL. I think this helps. And also, worst case scenario for Murray owners is that it lights a fire under JJ, and he ends up becoming the starter, even better than Murray. And then you have a nice quarterback battle. So I did like this signing. I was hoping he was going to be in Pittsburgh, but can't win everything. Moving on. Speaking of Aaron Jones, Minnesota running back, he did restructure a 1 year deal for $5.6 million. That sounds like a backup, but who knows? We'll see what happens there. Chris Rodriguez, former Washington Commanders running back, signs with Jacksonville for 2 years, $12 million. Rashad White, Tampa Bay running back, signs with the Washington Commanders to take Rodriguez's spot, basically, even though play completely different positions at running back there. For 1 year, Brian Robinson goes to Atlanta, formerly from the 49ers, for 1 year. And then Keaton Mitchell, the former Baltimore running back, signs with the LA Chargers for 2 years, $9.25 million. Which one caught your eye on this, out of these, I guess?
I think I'm going to go with the most sneaky one that has potential. I'm going to go Keaton Mitchell in Los Angeles. I like this one a lot. This is something that you can buy him cheap, or you could have him cheap, or some probably even had him on some less deeper leagues, probably even had him on some waiver action. But now that he's on the Chargers, I sneakily like this one a lot. I think he's going to be a great fit with McDaniel. Something we're going to talk about down the road, at least me. But I think this is going to be a great fit all around. It's a great yang to the yin of Omari and Hampton. I think it helps complete that running back room.
Yeah, absolutely. I was even tempted I was like him-hawing about even putting him on here, but I was kind of feeling the same way as you. I think that this is kind of a sneaky, great move by the Chargers, especially with McDaniel. And we know how he likes the pass catching out of the backfield. So I think that's going to really play well in his offense there. Mine, personally, is Chris Rodriguez going to Jacksonville. They have Bashal Tutin, obviously a speed demon. We saw that at the Combine last year. Can catch out of the backfield a little bit as well, but they don't have that pounder. And that's what Chris Rodriguez is. He just can go right down the throat of the defense, as we saw last year from the Commanders. So I actually really like that signing the best for fit-wise. And I think Rodriguez, out of these five, Rodriguez actually might be the most fantasy opportunity, because it's like a 50-50 split if you believe in Tutin or not. I'm on the side of not necessarily believing yet. I need to see it first, I guess. So I've seen it from Chris Rodriguez last year with a worse team, so it's kind of interesting to see how he's going to fit in with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jalen Waddle, Miami wide receiver, traded to the Denver Broncos for 2026 first, third, and I think they flipped fourths. Brandon Ayuk, released by the San Francisco 49ers, still is looking for a job right now. Hollywood Brown, Kansas City wide receiver, signs with the Philadelphia Eagles for 1 year, $6.5 million. Christian Kirk, Houston wide receiver, signs with the 49ers for 1 year. He's now the number 2-3, depending on how you feel about Pearsall, with Mike Evans there. Calvin Austin III, I don't know if I should even have put him on here, but he's from Pittsburgh, so I had to. Wide receiver signs with the New York Giants for 1 year, $4.5 million. Darnell Mooney also signs with the Giants for 1 year for $10 million. So you can kind of see where that lineup is going to be. It looks like Mooney's going to be 2, Austin 3, if they don't draft anybody. Again, who you got here? Obviously, we'll talk about Jalen Waddle a little bit more in depth. But other than that, who do you have?
Out of this list here, I think I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk, only because I'm curious to see exactly where he lands. Now, obviously, there is the speculation that everyone is just waiting for the dominoes to fall. He's going to be a post-June 1st release, and he's going to be a post-June 1st sign with the Commanders. I think that's what everyone, is trying to see in the writing on the wall. Ayuk has made it very clear he wants to play with Jaden Daniels, and this is the best way it gets lined up. And honestly, that wide receiver room behind Terry McLaurin isn't necessarily one to be super appeasing. Adding a skill set such as a Brandon Ayuk would be exciting to see. So I guess the one I'm most excited about is the one that's yet to be determined. What say you?
So was he actually? He's been released though, right, from the 49ers?
He is one of those future to be released. There's no necessarily date yet when he has been released, but he is subject to be released. They think because of cap purposes that he's going to be one of those post-June 1st releases.
Mhm.
So he obviously can't do anything with any team until obviously June 2nd. Yeah, so he is not officially a free agent. He is scheduled to be released. What normally teams do that is kind of like last minute, hey, last call. If you want to make a trade or you want to have the rights to Brandon Ayuk, now's your chance.
Yeah.
No one's coming, no one's calling because no one can see him. Nobody has an opportunity to get in there and see Brandon Ayuk because he's still under contractual rights with the Niners. So it's not like they can have him come and to do a combine-esque skill set to see what he's like post-knee operation. So everyone's at a standstill until he can sign some, until that June 1st release date is what I think is going to happen. And once that happens, then we can get a little bit of momentum on exactly where he's going to go. But no team's going to trade for him and take on his contract without seeing him, and no team can see him with him being contractually obligated to the Niners. So it's kind of a draw.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. Maybe the San Francisco 49ers just have like a mini practice and feature Ayuk. I wonder if that's legal. I don't even know if that is or not. That'd be fun.
They gotta get Ayuk to show up to do it. That's the crazy part.
That's the unfortunate part.
He has all the power here because he knows if he shows up and gets traded, he doesn't have necessarily a say. He knows if he gets released, he can go anywhere he wants. He has all the power in the world here.
So there's a matter of time. He's going to do that. He hasn't been practicing in a while, so
right.
You also want to talk to him and be able to see if what happened with the 49ers is a personal thing for him or it was just how he's always going to be. So that's another thing I would be worried about if I was a team, not necessarily fantasy football, obviously, but heck of a talent. So hopefully he's able to find somewhere good to land, and Washington would be perfect for his skill set. So let's talk about Jalen Waddle. Trade to Denver for a first, third, and a split, a fourth swap. So what was your thought process on this? I know we talked about this a little bit when it happened. I mean, for me, I was ecstatic. I have Waddle shares. I know Courtland Sutton's there, but he's getting older. Obviously, they don't want him to be the number one. You don't bring in Waddle for a first if you don't want him to be the number one focal point for your offense. So I was pretty stoked about that, especially with Malik Willis, who I don't believe in, being the quarterback down in Miami. So I think it boosts Waddle up in fantasy for sure. He's now number one on legitimate offense. What say you?
No, I think you nailed a lot of the pointers right on the head. I think it's an upgrade for him in regards to quarterback. I think it's an upgrade for us fantasy owners. I think the only one that really hurts is Malik Willis. I feel bad for the guy. Like his best players, his running back. He doesn't have anyone really to pass it to that has experience. They haven't really done anything in free agency besides sell and lose players. So I mean, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing as a complete tanking team, the Miami Dolphins. But yeah, I feel bad for Malik Willis, who I agree I didn't have much faith in, but even more now. I think he's on my waivers in my one league, which is not a super flex, but nevertheless, I think he's on the waivers. So I mean, that kind of just highlights the lack of interest in him and his weapons available now that Jalen Waddle's gone. But no, Jalen Waddle to Denver. I agree. I think Sutton is. I think Sutton has taken a step back. I know statistically he's doing well, but I do think he has taken a step back, at least in some aspects. And you don't go trade, like you said, you don't go trade a first for Waddle without making him a focal point in this offense. So I think it's an upgrade for Waddle in general, and even more so in the fantasy perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just the first; it's a third too. And in fantasy drafts, thirds don't mean too much. In the NFL, it means so much. That's how people
thirds are big.
It's
thirds are big.
I mean, that's what really is crazy to me is they didn't just give up a first; they gave up another pick in this draft. Granted, again, this draft is a little bit lesser than what people originally see, but from everything I've heard, I can't say that for sure because we haven't had the draft yet. But all the media heads say that this draft is a little bit lesser. So maybe that's what Denver's trying to get out of. I don't know. But they definitely found the guy they want, I guess, for this offense to move forward. And it'll be interesting. So This trade made my what we'll talk about later on with the wish list a lot more difficult. Trust me. And finally, we're going to finish up with the tight ends. Dallas Goedert, Philadelphia tight end, re-signs for 1 year. Chiga Okonkwo moves from Tennessee to Washington for 3 years. And David Njoku is released and not signed. I thought that was pretty interesting because obviously Harold Fannin is in Cleveland. But you can't tell me there are 20 tight ends who you wouldn't want over David Njoku, in my opinion. I know he's getting up there in age, but I still can't think of 20 tight ends who are better than David Njoku, who will do whatever you need whenever you need it and is good at both sides, blocking and receiving. So I was pretty shocked by that. But your take on any of these?
I love Chiga Okonkwo to Washington. I like that a lot. I think he's going to fit that perfectly. But you nailed it on Njoku. I think Njoku is going to be a signing that we see immediately after the draft, come like May 1st. I think that he's kind of waiting to see how pieces fall. I don't necessarily think there's 15 to 20 teams after him, but I do think that he has some offers on the table. I think he is, at least like you said, with him being a blocking and catching tight end and his proven abilities in the red zone and his proven abilities with yak yards, I think it's a matter of time before he is seen, but I am surprised as of the timing of our recording that he is not signed yet. I would agree with you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was shocked by that. Maybe it's the Kenyon Sadiq, Eli Stowers reasoning. Get one of them, and then if not, all right, I'll take Njoku, right? Just because of the age, not because they're better, but, well, I think Sadiq might be, but just because of the age. You have a chance to get a 22, 23-year-old tight end versus Njoku, who is in his 30s, I believe.
29.
Oh, he's only 29.
Yeah, Njoku is 29 years old, yes.
Wow, I messed that up. So he has like 4 or 5 more years left if he wants, really, from tight end standards. So that's interesting. All right, so was there anything that you wanted to discuss further, anything like that, from the free agency side of things? Or do you want to move on to the 2026 running backs in the draft here?
Let's run into our running backs here. Let's run into some fresh meat. Let's see what we got going on.
All right. So it feels like we've already had a year with this guy, even though he is going to be a rookie this coming year. But everyone talks about him so much. We're going to kind of skip over him a little bit. Jeremiah Love, out of Notre Dame. He's a workhorse back. He's going to be one of the top 5 backs in the NFL in 2 years. Everyone says that already. Top 5 pick in the NFL draft is what it sounds like. Definitely not getting out of the top 10. Kansas City, even from what I heard, Kansas City took Walker because they didn't think he was going to fall to 9. So it gives you an idea there. Same with Achane, Travis Achane, I think is how we say his name now.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, for the Saints. So those 2 teams obviously figured out that they weren't going to have a chance at Jeremiah Love. So 6 foot 212, ran the 40 in 4.36 seconds there. Comparison that I saw was Bijan Robinson. I'm not okay with that because he's the best running back in the NFL right now from most people's standards. So I went with Breece Hall because he can kind of do everything. And I think if Breece Hall was in a better situation, he would be one of those higher name backs. Did you see any other comps real quick?
Current comps, man, not necessarily. I like the ones I like the Breece Hall comp, but to be honest with you, he reminds me of Reggie Bush, like a Gen Z Reggie Bush. Like he just the speed that he has, his effectiveness in space. He reminds me of Reggie Bush. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with a Gen Z Reggie Bush.
I like that. That's interesting. So that's all we're really going to say about Jeremiah Love. All of his strengths, he pretty much is strong in everything. And when I looked at his weaknesses, it was like nitpicky stuff. So we're not even going to talk about that. He's incredible. He's going to be your 101 in every single fantasy draft. And if he's not, that means you have Bijan and Gibbs. That's the only reason you wouldn't draft this guy number 1. And you probably should still even put him in your flex. Moving on is the number 2 running back listed on here. These next, like the rest of these guys are kind of in a clump, I feel like, where depending on spot, is kind of going to determine who comes out of this the best. But so far, Jonah Coleman out of Washington, he's a dual roll back. Late second round pick is what they're projecting here. 5'8", 220 pounds. That is a small bowling ball. And I mean bowling ball. 4'5" on the 40. Comp was Blake Corum, another bowling ball, so that makes sense. So who was your comp for him?
I'm actually I like the bowling ball analogy, by the way. That made me chuckle. But Coleman himself has actually kind of compared him to Josh Jacobs, which makes me kind of think of that bowling ball type example. The way that his physical ability, and the way that he can come out of the backfield. He compares himself to Josh Jacobs, and if you have a running back that can compare themselves to a current modern running back, that means that that's who they're learning from, and that's who those game and tape they're watching. So if he's going to come out and be the next Josh Jacobs, I want to stock.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The one thing that kind of worries me a little bit, and this is just because the NFL doesn't put you on the field as much, is pass pro technique needs work. But other than that, except for his height, because you can't see over the – everyone complains about quarterback's height, but if you can't see over the offensive lineman, you don't know where to go. So that kind of worries me a little bit as well. 5'8" is small, but 220 is large. So I don't know. That's an interesting body type. Let me put it that way. Anything else you wanted to say on Coleman? I know he's only had one fumble on 396 touches. That's insane. Great ball security.
Great ball security. He has soft hands, and he transitions from catch to run rather well, which is basically what running backs nowadays are being asked to do. I do concern myself about his size as well. I understand that we are talking the bowling ball analogy, but the bowling ball is short. So I do want to make sure that we are dealing with a Cam Scatterbo type of situation, not a Deuce Vaughn situation, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, that's a good call. The speed is a little lack as well, so that can cap big plays. But I like him. All these other running backs we're going to talk about, I'm never going to say, oh, this is the guy or anything like that. I like these guys, but I feel like none of them are really starters on an offense. And probably like a bench player on your team. What do you think about that, by the way?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you here. I think the spot and camps are really going to help separate these guys here, but I don't think the combine or the season statistics that we're trying to utilize, what information we have now, is going to help separate them more than what they already have been by the pros. I think it's landing spot deterrent. I know some of my listeners tend to get sick of hearing that, but I do think that holds a little bit more nucleus than most. I think the landing spot is very important in this running back draft class, seeing exactly where they land in regards to depth charts and seeing where they go in regards to developmental aspects.
Yeah, because if one of these guys that we're going to talk about fall into Minnesota, for instance, because I don't think Love's going to get there, they instantly become interesting because there's not really a starter there. So they have a shot at that. That would be the guy that I'd be focusing on, things like that. So good call on that. So next up, we have Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. Yep, another running back out of Notre Dame. They had a good year with running backs. Workhorse back, third-round pick projected, 5'11", 203 pounds, 4'4", 40. In the comp that I had, and hopefully he's more healthy than this guy. He's able to stay more healthy than this guy, Kendre Miller. How about you? What you got on this guy? What you got on Price?
Price, yeah, man. I got Price compared to a Tony Pollard. I agree with a lot of the cited comparisons from some of the other analysts. But Tony Pollard's one that makes sense to me. Just his one cut. He's one of those one cut runners that can hit the edge. And it kind of reminds me of that aspect as well. Decent skill set. He is light to be a workhorse running back, so that to me, that is going to hurt a little bit of chances in regards to where he's going to rank. Because obviously, I'm pursuing workhorses, which again is tough to find in this day and age in regards to the NFL. And he is coming off an Achilles tear, so I mean, there's some durability concerns as well. But well, for the most part, I think he can come into the league immediately and have direct impact as like a kick returner. Special teams, I think he can have an immediate impact there. He has outstanding vision, and his legit speed levels also to me tell me that I think he can be an immediate impact in special teams. And if you can get it made in special teams, that's where the opportunities come for you.
That's very true. That's a great call. He's limited time. His limited time as the actual like number one guy because he was behind Love, so he was obviously going to be on the bench a lot. 8.3 carries per game in 2 seasons. That's pretty light. So it kind of reminds me of Roschon Johnson because he was behind Bijan, but everyone thought he was going to be great, and then it came out that he wasn't very good in the NFL. Or hasn't been very good in the NFL yet. So hopefully that doesn't happen to him. But it has those. It makes me remember that. So I get kind of worried about Price because we haven't really seen it. It's all speculation at this point. So Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska. Yep, we're talking about a player out of Nebraska. Surprised myself. Dual rule back. 3rd round projected 5'10", 202 pounds, 4'5", 40. Comp is Ray Davis, who I liked coming out, but he was just older. So I was pretty excited when I saw this. But how about you? What you got for us?
I'm going to agree with some of the ones that I've read and indicating that he is a good comparison to Kyron Williams. Just due to his vision, his patience, and his ability to contribute toward the passing game as well. I think he, like I said, he's exceptional. He has exceptional vision. He's one of the better ones in this draft class to have this. I think is what helps deter him from the other ones or separate him from the other ones. And he kind of gives me like that. I don't want to say he is, but he kind of gives me that like Lev Bell type patience where they would sit in the back and they would be able to kind of like work their way into the tiniest little skinny holes as they possibly can. Where Lev Bell would get the ball and you'd be screaming at the TV, run! But he was setting it up perfectly. He was setting it up for finding that perfect hole, waiting exactly because his acceleration was faster than the way that the offensive line could set up his holes, in my opinion. But nevertheless.
Yeah, no, I love that call because anytime I hear of great patience or able to set blocks, I'm like, yeah, but your offensive line has to be able to do it. And you brought up Le'Veon Bell. He had a good offensive line in Pittsburgh. He went to New York, and obviously they did not have as good of an offensive line because he fell apart. So that's another thing that worries me a little bit is whenever you're able to set the blocks, it's great, and you're able to find the holes and everything. That is phenomenal. You become one of the best running backs in football if we compare him to Le'Veon Bell. But it's also a worry if that offensive line is the Raiders last year.
Precisely, yes.
Or anything like that, because they're not going to set your blocks, and you're just dancing back there waiting for a defensive player to get you, which isn't good. But the home run hunting occasionally hurts him by looking to cut back too much. I know we love the cutback, but when you do it too much, you kind of slow yourself down a little bit. So I am a little bit worried about that. And obviously, the 200-pound frame kind of brings in questions of a true bell cow running back. So, but like I said, I have a feeling most of these guys are going to be backups. Nicholas Singleton out of Penn State. This is the guy who, if he would have come out last year, would have been probably top 5 running backs drafted. But since Penn State had such a bad year this past year, everyone has fallen apart in the eyes of the media, at least, and it sounds like in the NFL as well. But dual roll back, 3rd round again, projected 6 foot, 219 pounds, 4'3", 40. Now, that wasn't at the Combine. We're waiting for his pro day. That was just something I saw from one of the places that I take the information from. And the comp I saw more than once is Rachaad White, which you could do worse than that. And I actually like Nicholas Singleton a lot. I think this past year had a lot to do with just the team just fell apart. We talked about this with Drew Aller. Like, the team just absolutely fell apart, and I don't know what happened because only 2 pieces were gone. Everybody else came back, really. So I look at the junior year, unbelievable year. Freshman year to junior year, he played really well. Senior year was probably his worst year out of his 4 years there. So what do you have for us?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna doing some homework here. I like the one I read off a Bleacher. It was David Johnson. Was a good comp as well. Who's noting they have very similar frames, very similar dual threat potential. Was an impact runner as well as a receiver. I know physically, this dude was a freak. And I say that with a pun intended. There's a freaks list at Penn State, and he's on it. He is able to squat 665 pounds and bench press 435 pounds. Like that's a moose, man. So like that is some serious numbers in regards to physicality. He's now, I don't want to make it sound like I'm toting his horn too much, but I agree with you. I do like Singleton a lot in this class. He's not the most elusive back. So I want to give you that. And also, he has a tendency to miss his cutback lanes. But again, his freak physicality alone is going to be able to compare well into the league. And honestly, he's mistake free. I don't think he's had a single fumble this year. So I'll take that all day.
Yeah, this has been my number 2 back for 2 years now in this class, just because you see it. Like, you've seen it on tape before. Yes, he had a bad year this year and it made him fall apart. But when you are squatting 650 and can run a 4.4, I'll sign up for that.
Yeah.
I mean, Let's be honest. So those are freak qualities, as you said. So this is one of the guys I'm willing to take a shot at because the freak athletic ability that he does possess, and he's probably the most athletic or second most athletic in this class, depending on how you feel about him versus Jeremiah Love, athleticism-wise. Now, Jeremiah Love is obviously a better running back. We're not even going to question that. But that's kind of where I'm at. So I found a hard time finding any real issues because I chalked this past year on Penn State up to just them going, I don't even know what happened. I loved it as a Pitt fan, but I have no idea what happened. They fell apart after the Oregon game. But he does run straight line, doesn't cut very much, but when you can squat 650 pounds, you can pretty much bull over almost anybody. So that helps. Mike Washington Jr., workhorse back. He's I missed this. Arkansas, I believe. I forgot to write that down, so I apologize. But yeah, Mike Washington Jr., I believe it's Arkansas. Workhorse running back. 4th round projected, 6'1", 223 pounds. 4.3, 3.40, and this is what got everybody excited from the combine. The comp is Quinshon Judkins because he's a monster, big dude, but can run a 4.3, 4.4. That made a lot of sense to me, Quinshon Judkins, as the comp. What do you got for us?
No, I like this. I like that one comp very much so. The Quinshon Judkins, I'm okay with that. Dude ran the fastest 40 out of all the running backs of the combine, man. Like you said, it's insane numbers. He also recorded the 39-inch vertical, which was one of the top ones out of the running backs as well. He's defined as that one-cut downhill runner. So I mean, I like the Quinshon Judkins comparison. The only concern that I know is he has ball security issues. Complete opposite of what we've been talking about and say Singleton. But I think he had anywhere between 7 to 10 fumbles over his final 2 seasons. So he tends to drop the ball a little bit. No pun intended. But overall, I think he's a functional receiver. He offers some pass protection. But yeah, his overall speed and his downhill run style is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, not much wiggle to his game, but a physical finisher. I mean, 223 with 4.33 speed. If he's in the second level, he's going to knock you over. You're not knocking him over, is kind of how I look at it. So that rear size speed combo, you don't see very often. I was just talking about Singleton. It's kind of the same thing. I just don't know as much about Washington as I've seen of Singleton in the past, but they're very similar to me, I feel like, which is why I tend to like Mike Washington, especially after the combine. I did not realize how fast and big this guy was. He's I think he's the fastest, or one of the three fastest over 220 pounds. That puts him in the category with DK Metcalf, which we know how much of a freak he is. So very impressive. And then last one, Katron Allen, another guy from Penn State. Workhorse back, 5th round pick, projected. I have a feeling he's going to go earlier, but we'll see. 5'11", 216 pounds, 4.55, 40. And the comp is Tyrone Tracy that I saw. I was pretty surprised by that comp. I'm not going to lie to you. So hopefully you have a better one for me.
Yeah, no, ones I was reading up on and I kind of went, I kind of like it, is Ramondre Stevenson out of New England.
Okay, yeah.
His dense build, his physical running style, they both are very punishing type running backs. So I agreed with the Stevenson comparison that's floating around out there. The dude's nickname was Fat Man. He's a 220-pound bruiser. So like, I mean, he's one of those other bowling ball type shaped running backs, one cut get downhill type runners. His pass protection, I know, is one of the better ones in this draft class, which is going to help elevate him. I agree with you. I think he goes earlier than the 5th round, because again, it's one of his major strengths is his pass protection, and especially rookie running backs, you want to see that as a developmental, or as already a developmented skill set, because that's one to get on the field, honestly, with. So I'm looking forward to seeing exactly where he lands.
Yeah, no, the number one thing for me with Katron Allen is the decisive one cut ability that he has. Like, he makes a decision and goes, which I love. I hate the dancing around the backfield. Yes, it works for some people, but again, you have to have a great offensive line for that. But he also does have patience. But once he makes that decision, he goes. There's no dancing around or anything like that, which I like. Able to push the power forward, like we talked about. And the elite vision is another thing that I really like. But the speed, 4.5, 4.55 kind of worries me a little bit as a running back, because you're going to get caught by most D-backs and possible linebackers as well. So that does worry me a little bit. And something I saw that I never thought I'd see from an NFL player. Stamina could be an issue for bell cow workload. Obviously, he was with Singleton. Singleton was the 1A to his 1B, so he was able to catch his breath throughout. But I never thought I'd see that from an NFL pro athlete on his breakdown. So that worries me a lot if I'm getting him in a fantasy draft or something like that. Just because if he's not going to be a workhorse, what's he going to do for me, right? So a little bit worried about that one. But anything else you have from any of the guys we've talked about? I have a couple names that we're just going to go over real quick and why we're going over them. But
hit me with those names, sir. Go for it.
Yeah, so we got Seth McGowan out of Kentucky, pure athlete. One of the better athletes in this class, like we said before. Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest, super fast. Very, very, very quick. 95th percentile, I think, on the 40. So very fast. And then Jamari Taylor, just a little bit slower, but very fast as well, out of Virginia. 2 ACC guys. I had to get at least one ACC guy in here, right? But those 3 guys are other names to know, especially later in your draft, late 3rd, early 4th, somewhere around there. So, because they're going to get drafted, we just think they're going to get drafted late day 3 instead of earlier day 3 and earlier than that. So, want to give you a heads up there. We are going to skip picks trade database this week. Hopefully, when we come back from our little break that we'll talk about at the end here, we'll be able to have a little bit of a game night kind of thing, and we can talk about the picks trade database before your draft actually happens, so we can get you into those tiers that you want to get into. Moving on, though, we are going to finish up the West wish list. And we're going to start with the AFC this week. And there's a reason for that, but you'll figure it out at the end. And if you haven't figured it out yet, it's because Seattle's the last one. That'd be fun to do as the Super Bowl champions. But we're going to start with the AFC. First off, we have the Denver Broncos. And I think, Jeremy, you have the first one here.
Yeah, you wanted them to make a splash at the draft. Look, they are the only team out of the entire NFL that did not sign a single free agent outside of their franchise. They're the only team. So I wanted them to make a splash at the draft. Little did I know that the splash was coming about 5 weeks prior to the draft, and they made the impact that I wanted them to do. They went off and traded for Jalen Waddle. We talked about it nauseum earlier, so don't want to beat that to death. But yeah, Jalen Waddle has been added to the Denver Broncos, and I like the fit for Denver, and I like the return for Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this is a wish list. So my wish for the Denver Broncos, which is absolutely not going to happen now that they don't even have a first-round pick, is this would be the absolute perfect spot for Kenyon Sadiq. You want to talk about a guy who we always talk about the Joker in the Sean Payton offense. Dude's a Joker, like pure name Joker, perfect tight end for that. However, that's not going to happen. So then I went to Eli Stowers, and then they decided to not have their 30th pick. So now I have to back up a little bit, and I'm hoping that Claire's going to be there for them. But I think they do need the tight end of the future. Ingram's not young by any stretch of the imagination. Troutman's not young by any stretch of the imagination. Or at least I don't think so. They feel like they've both been in the league forever, to me. So I think they need to find a tight end, a versatile tight end who can actually go out and kind of do what Ingram does, just a little bit younger. Kansas City Chiefs. Jeremy, you are up again, sir.
Yeah, let's run it back with Eric Bieniemy. Look, let's do it all like we did when the Chiefs were at the height of their success and at their dynasty. It was Mahomes and Kelsey's best years. It was the Tyreek Hill was an absolute force. Why not bring him back? He's a free agent. You can get him on the league minimum, and you're going to have Rice most likely face another suspension. So you're going to have that aspect is going into here as well. So I like the Eric Bieniemy ad. I want to see them run it all back. Let's go here. Why not? Let's see if Sadiq goes to them at 9. They have the 9th overall pick. Let's see if Sadiq goes to them and can learn from Travis Kelce for a year. So that would be a fun one to see them land. I say fun in regards to a fantasy perspective, but not as an NFL fan, because to see Sadiq with Patrick Mahomes for the next 10 years is sickening.
Oh, God, just like Kelce, too. But I actually had a big wide receiver. I had a big target for them as well, but I went with a wide receiver, 6'4", Jordan Tyson. Yes, I know Mahomes really has never had that big X receiver, the big guy. Rashee Rice is a smaller guy, and or I guess kind of on the average side for a wide receiver. And Xavier Worthy, fast, small guy, smaller frame as well. So Jordan Tyson, I think, adding to this offense whenever you see Rice finally in this offense again, and to add with Xavier Worthy being able to push it down the field a little bit like he should be doing. And you bring in Tyson as kind of like the X receiver, the possession guy, the guy to go up and get it when you need to. At number 9, I think that's a good pick. I believe they're not going to go that way, but that's my dream, is to have Jordan Tyson at number 9 overall pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. It would look really, really good fantasy-wise. I think him getting the ball from Mahomes with Kelce as a tight end still there, hogging up the middle. pretty exciting offense. But like you said, for the NFL, that would not be good because then we're just back to the era of the Chiefs. Vegas Raiders, offensive line to give Mendoza time. Like, this is the only thing we need. Fill in every single spot possible with offensive line. Yes, you need defense as well, but we're an offensive show here. So I just want to make sure Mendoza doesn't get hurt as quickly as Burrow did, because I think Mendoza, with the offense that they're putting together, could really do some damage. Now, I'm a little bit. I think the other thing, and I think you're going to talk about this as well, but I was just thinking about this. Adding either Elijah Surratt or Cooper in the second round would be really, really interesting because he's already familiar with them.
No, I mean, you know me. I love my college stacks. And if you can get familiarity in that wide receiver room, which it's needed, I'm a big fan of that. So I'm all in on that. No, we were kind of on the same page. My wish is to set Mendoza up for success. So it includes that offensive line. Joe Burrow is a fantastic comparison. We all know the significant knee injury that he faced in his rookie year because he doesn't have an offensive line, and he still doesn't have an offensive line. It's like they didn't learn. But no, it's working at offensive line. They decided to keep Crosby. It looks like they're going to keep Crosby. Let's keep that going. And you have arguably the greatest quarterback ever to play the game in your building as a suit, as an official overseeing your team and your draft picks and your players. Use that in your advantage. It shouldn't have to be said on a podcast, and I'm optimistic that I don't have to. It doesn't have to be said. I'm sure Tom Brady is doing what Tom Brady does, but let's see what they can do and build around Mendoza on the field and off.
No, I love that call. Absolutely. I hate saying the same thing for two teams in a row. However, I'm going to, because Los Angeles Chargers need to keep Herbert upright and in the pocket. It's really fun to see him run. However, he is one of the best pure passers in the NFL. Keep him in the pocket. Let him throw to the millions of weapons that they have on this team, and are probably going to gain more. And this team is kind of set up for a Super Bowl run, as long as that offensive line will hold up. Now, obviously, the two tackles are coming back. I'm more talking about the inside. The center and two guards they need to work on, because those two tackles, as long as they stay healthy, it probably is the best two tackle tandem in the NFL, in my opinion. But again, they were hurt last year. Hopefully that doesn't continue. But keep Herbert upright is the most important thing in this offseason.
I fully agree with you. Again, if you're going to draft a franchise quarterback and you're not going to be able to protect that franchise quarterback, then what are you drafting that franchise quarterback for? You gotta have a good secure system around that quarterback. So why not? I went a different route here. I went with incorporating the good out of Mike McDaniel. This is probably one of the most exciting coaching hires that has happened in the offseason. Not necessarily player induced, but coaching signings. Mike McDaniel with the Los Angeles Chargers signed me way up. He is going to be able to be fully released on just offensive duties. He's not going to have head coaching responsibilities. He's not going to have the pressure of head coaching a Miami organization that nobody wants to coach. Look, in the middle of a blow up, like, come on. What he's able to potentially do with Keaton Mitchell, what he's able to potentially do with Gadsden, all of it. I give him a speedy wide receiver, what he was able to do with Tyreek. I know I mentioned Tyreek jokingly with the Chiefs, but why not add Tyreek here as well? Or, and Kent as well. But, Tyreek here. Again, league minimum. I want to see what he can do, but give him a speedy wide receiver, Mike McDaniel, that is, and let's see what the Chargers can do offensively.
Yeah, you said speedy wide receiver, and the number one thing I think of is, oh God, if Casey Concepcion comes here.
Yeah, man.
Oh God. That would actually be a beautiful spot, even though there's so many wide receivers on this team already. And they have some speed demons already, some guys who can go down the field and go up and get it. Johnston and Trey Harris, yeah. Trey Harris is one of them. Lambert, not too shabby at that as well. So they have some other options, but not the speed of KC Concepcion, for instance. So I love that call. We're going to move on to the NFC here and talk about the only NFC West team to not make the playoffs. And they're moving on from their quarterback. But first off, let's talk about the Algier side.
Yeah, man. So let's go to Algier season here. I'm looking forward to this one more than most. I was tooting his horn earlier and everything in between. I think he's going to get a 60-40 split with James Conner, him being the 60. So I want to be able to see what he's able to do with a little bit more bell cow work. He has elite ball security. He doesn't fumble at all. He hasn't fumbled once in his NFL career. So that's something to keep an eye on. And I think he's going to be perfectly fit with LaFleur's outside rushing his own scheme. So I think all three here, are a perfect storm. And I think we're going to see why Tyler Algier has got paid what he did.
Yeah, I like this call. They've been trying to find a replacement for James Conner, it feels like, since he's gotten there. And they haven't been able to. So this obviously could be the one. He's obviously older now in Conner. But it's going to be interesting to see who they pick to finish the play down in the red zone if they get down there. Because these two are both end zone sniffers. Like, they are really good at finding the end zone when you get down to the red zone. So interesting. I do like that call. I was hoping he was going to go somewhere else, but he ended up here in Arizona. So hopefully he'll be able to help that offense out. For me, and Jacoby Brissett is a fine quarterback. I will say that. However, he is not a franchise quarterback or a quarterback who can consistently do what he ended up doing for, 5 or 6 weeks in a row because their defense was so bad. Hopefully the defense gets better for the NFL side of things. But they need a quarterback who can get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. and McBride. Really, that's it on offense, because I put Kirk Cousins here. I don't necessarily like that, but there's no one left. So yeah. I feel like he's probably the best quarterback left. But with the offensive line, I don't even know if Cousins would have time to throw the ball because he is not going to move. So for lack of a better person to think of, I think Anthony Richardson would be a lot of fun here. But again, that's a work in progress. You don't know what that's going to be. And also, you just let Kyler go, who's probably a little bit better of a Anthony Richardson. So wouldn't make too much sense. But to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride is the key. I do like the Algier and Conner kind of splitting, even though they're similar backs, not the same, but similar. So I kind of like what they're doing with the offense, but the offensive line has to be built. And the defense doesn't have to do anything because I have shares of McBride. I'm okay with them scoring 40 points a game like they have to. Like they're probably going to have to. That's fine with me in fantasy-wise. So, and remember, I am talking fantasy only. So, but definitely getting a legit quarterback, and this might not happen this year. It's probably going to happen next year, and why they're probably going to be the worst team in this division again, to get the ball to MHJ and McBride would really, really help those two in their fantasy spots. So next up, let's talk about the three teams that did make the playoffs in this division, and were two of the last ones. So Los Angeles Rams. Jeremy, you're up first here.
Yeah, I'm liking. This is not necessarily my wish is presently being granted. It's a work in progress, and I want to see continue being work. It's this continue win now approach with Stafford. They're trading their picks around. They are signing players that they normally wouldn't be signing. They're going after they went after the free agency hard. Everything that the Rams are doing right now is a win now approach. They have bolstered up their defense significantly with the Trey McDuffie trade. And they've reconfigured Stafford's contract, which is going to allow a little bit more cap room for them to be able to maneuver everything else up there. But then again, by maneuvering his contract, they're paying him accordingly. So there's trust in there. There's faith in there. Everyone's on board for this win now. And I want to see them continue to do so. They were super close last year, and I think they are going to be equally as close this year, if not better, now their defensive schemes and offensive pursuit.
Right. Now, I really couldn't find a weakness in this team fantasy-wise. They have a good running back, 2 good wide receivers, young tight end who I think is going to be good, but the other tight ends won't go away. And obviously the quarterback is phenomenal. So what I did was I think they need to find the quarterback of the future. And yes, I might be a little biased because I've liked this guy since his freshman year, but I think if you have Drew Aller sit behind Matt Stafford, that will help Puka not lose anything whenever Stafford decides to retire. That's where I'm coming from on this. I like that move. You could say you probably need a younger wide receiver as well to supplant Devontae Adams, but I think they need to find the quarterback who's going to be able to get the ball to whoever those wide receivers are first. And I don't think Stetson Bennett's that guy. Moving on, we have the San Francisco 49ers. This team is set for the Super Bowl. Like, they are set as long as they stay healthy. This team is very, very good. You got Pearsall, Kirk, and Evans as the wide receivers. Obviously, one of the top 5 right now running backs in the NFL. Probably top 2, most people would say, in CMC, Christian McCaffrey. George Kittle's hurt, however, are again one of the best tight ends in the NFL. When the defense is healthy, they're pretty darn good. They just weren't healthy last year, so they had to just score all the time, and you just paid Brock Purdy. So obviously they have all the pieces. Now, the only issue is Kirk gets hurt every year. Evans gets hurt every year. Pearsall, we've seen him, 4 times, I think? Or like in a stretch of 5 games, maybe. Kittle's already hurt. CMC gets hurt every 3 years, especially after the workload that he's had. The defense last year, you lost Bosa, you lost Fred Warner. You could keep going on how many injuries this team has had. And then they added the two of the most prevalent injured wide receivers to supplant the other guys. So if this team can stay healthy, we got some good stuff coming fantasy-wise. However, if it continues to be that injury bug that the 49ers have had the last, I don't even know how many years it feels like, then obviously we're a little bit worried about that.
No, I'm going to go very similar here. I'm going to go getting some offensive line help as soon as possible. Tackle needs help. Left guard needs help. Tight end needs help. Tight end needs help because George Kittle is one of the better blocking tight ends and better receiving tight ends, one of the most versatile tight ends. And everyone, I don't want to say everyone, but it tends to be forgotten that he's coming off significant injury. He's coming off of the Achilles tear late in the season. It was in the playoff game, wasn't it? So we're gonna have so we're not gonna have George Kittle coming into it. So we're gonna need Tunjas to continue to play the way he has, but we're also gonna need to make sure that we have some good blocking tight ends on that offensive line. No,
I was gonna say it was actually week 16 or 17 because he's the reason that I ended up winning in the one league because he got hurt. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, it was fantasy playoffs. I know that for sure. But super late in the season.
Also, going the more interior offensive line, we have the Trent Williams contract standoff situation where he's not been signed yet, and I think he might get released here. And they lost both their left guards to free agency, so both their starting left guards to free agency. So I think that the offensive line is in need of significant help, and which plays into the healthiness aspect of one, Brock Purdy and George Kittle.
Absolutely. And then last but certainly not least, because they just won the Super Bowl this past year, Seattle Seahawks. I love how that worked out. So what I think they need is a pass catching, change of pace running back to complement Charbonnet. If he's going to be healthy for the beginning of the season, if he's not going to be healthy for the beginning of the season, then you need a running back to be the running
back.
Yeah, I mean, Emmanuel Wilson's a nice piece in the room, but let's be honest, he's not a starter. They didn't pay him as a starter. I have a feeling that this is one of those spots that those running backs we just talked about earlier, if one of them get to Seattle, just like I said Minnesota, but Seattle might even be the best spot. I have a feeling that there is going to be massive opportunity there, and this might actually be the best spot to be if you're one of these rookie running backs. So I'll be definitely paying attention to who they end up taking and when.
And on the complete opposite side of it, it's not only who you're taking, but who you've already taken and who you want to pay. You're going to continue to pay your stars. They had to let Walker walk, basically, but they signed JSN just recently to a monster contract. He's now the highest paid wide receiver in the league, with an average annual value of $42.15 million, which surpasses Jamar's Chase's $40.25. But it's a 4-year contract worth $168.6 million. That's what you got to do. You got to pay your stars. The next on board is Witherspoon. He too needs to be paid this offseason, and I think he will be paid quite well. But to continue to pay your stars, as you continue to pay your stars, you're going to continue to have success. And what better success are you going to have than being the defending Super Bowl champions?
Yeah, and they got a lot of stars, so I hope they got enough money. But yeah, so that was our wish list. We finally completed it. I was wrong 2 weeks ago. We are actually done now, though. And Jeremy, do you have anything else before we head out of here?
No, I do not, man. This has been a lot of fun going over our wish list and seeing some of them come true live as we were going over them. But other than that, no, this has been nice to see, and looking forward to our next steps and next chapters. What are they?
Yeah, so next week, in the following week, we're actually going to be off. So we're coming back with the week of April 12th. So we get 2 weeks off. We get a mini vacation. But we're coming back with obviously some news, meaning probably the league meeting would have happened by then. So we're going to talk about anything that matters fantasy-wise in that. And really what I'm talking about that is the tush push still legal? That's really the one thing I care about, being a Jalen Hurts owner. And then rookie wide receivers, and this is going to take up a lot of time because there are a lot of wide receivers, and they are all kind of grouped in certain tiers, but each tier is pretty solid. And then if we have time, hopefully we do, we'll talk about the blind resumes that we were supposed to do, a month and a half ago, I think. We'll finally get to those and hopefully picks trade database as well. So a lot of fun. Like I said, I don't think the first part is going to be too long, so we should be able to get everything in. But there's a lot of rookie wide receivers to talk about. It's the deepest part of this entire draft, and it'll be a lot of fun to see, a lot of fun to talk about. So unless you have anything else for us, Jeremy, we're going to sign off here, sir.
No, I think we're ready to sign off here. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you all, and let's hit the show on the road here. Yeah.
All right, man. So make sure you check us out on Podbean, YouTube, and Apple. Social, we have at dynastymttops, on Blue Sky and X. Also email us, dynastymttops@gmail.com for any comments, show ideas. What did you think about our wish list now that it's finally complete? Some of them came true, so we were a little bit of Nostradamus, like Jeremy was saying earlier. Some of them did not, however, obviously. What do you think about the running backs for this year's draft? We tried to make them as interesting as possible. Let me put it that way. But again, for Jeremy, I'm Mickey. This has been Dynasty of the Mountaintops. Have a great 3 weeks, and we'll see you in the middle of April. Insane.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.